Hello scrappers. Today I'm going to do a little bit of a follow-up to my video I just released a little while ago about getting gold out of military grade pins. One of my viewers commented on that video that he thought there was probably a lot of gold caught in this filter here where I filtered out all of the debris, and it's something that's been nagging at me for a while too, because I could see that the gold was coming out of solution. It was floating on top as a raft of crystals. Who knows how much of it had sunk to the bottom into this goo down here that was all caught on this filter. Plus I could tell from the purple color of this filter, I don't know if that's showing up on the video very well or not, that there is some gold here, because purple is the color of gold coming out of solutions as this filter dries out. So there's some finely divided gold in the filter there making the purple color, but there might be some actual gold crystals, good size ones, in this goop here. So I'm going to process this filter and see how much gold I can get out of it. I'm going to dump it in here in this beaker. I've also got this filter here, and this is the one that I filtered the gold that I saw in the bottom of the beaker when I was dumping everything and filtering it into that filter. At the bottom of the beaker there was some actual gold crystals, and I ran them into this filter here just to capture them. And I ran all the rinse water as I was cleaning the gold, the 3.3 grams of gold I got in the end. As I was washing that gold and cleaning it, all the rinse water went through this filter, and there's a little bit more fine gold here too. So I'll put this filter in, and we'll see how much extra gold we get to go along with the 3.3 grams I've already recovered from those pins. So I'm gonna make a little aqua regia here, and we'll see what we can extract from this stuff. There we go. That should be pretty good. What is that? That's about, yeah, it's about 700 milliliters. That should be more than enough, even though there's a lot of paper and gunk in there. Let me get a pipette and we'll get some nitric acid on it. Okay. A bit of nitric acid. First off, let me get it covered up. The fume hood turned on. Hit it with some nitric. So that is about 3 milliliters of nitric acid right there. I'm thinking there's probably not a whole lot of gold in there. So we'll go with 3 milliliters for now. Turn the heat on a little bit, warm it up, and we'll see what happens. Well, it's been about 15-20 minutes. It's been on the heat, so it's warmed up. There was a little bit of initial bubbling, but not much, so there's really not much happening. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stir it up, because, you know, a lot of that stuff was in a big lump in the bottom of the big filter. Maybe I can break it up and get it in some intimate contact with the acid. But I still don't see much of an action going on. I might add another little squirt of nitric acid to it, but I don't want to over nitric it, because I'm thinking there is not a huge amount of gold in here. I mean, even if there's a gram or two, which would be a lot, the amount of nitric acid I put in there should be sufficient to dissolve it. So we'll see if that agitation gets any kind of reaction going. Not immediate, that's for sure. So I'll just let it cook and watch it for a little while. If nothing happens, I'll add some more nitric. Let's spend maybe another 5-10 minutes. And we got something going on now. Let me see if I can get it to show up on the camera. Put focus on it. But yeah, we got some bubbling. There's a significant amount of bubbling going on. We're starting to get a little bit of brown, orange orange fumage. All the paper pulp is floating to the top because the bubbles are entrained in it. So something's going on in there. Okay. That has the look of metal going into solution. And the only metal that should be in there, I would think, would be gold. So this is a good thing. So I'm just gonna let it cook. And we'll see what becomes of it. Hopefully the good things are happening. It's been a few more minutes. We've got a really good vigorous reaction going on in there. And I think I'm going to stir it up again just to make sure that everything gets in contact with the aqua regia. Oh yeah, it's all falling apart now. There's no lumps in there. So I think we're good on that. You wash any gold bearing liquid off my stir rod. And I'm just gonna let it cook until the reaction stops. And then probably be ready to filter it again and see what kind of gold I can drop out of it. Well, the reaction seems to be dying down. Before I forget, I'm going to put in the usual milliliter or so of concentrated sulfuric acid. That's about 1.5 milliliters there. Just so if there's any lead in there, it will precipitate out as lead sulfate. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the heat off on this. I'm going to go get some shaved ice and add it to it to cool it down and dilute it so we get anything that wants to come out of solution to come out, and then I'll be ready to filter. I'll probably do that after lunch though, because it's almost lunchtime. I'm going to meet my buddies, have a nice long lunch, then come back and deal with it. Alrighty, I'm back. This liquid, let me get it out of the fume hood. The ice has all melted. It's nice, diluted, and cool. And I want to do a stannous chloride test on it. I know there's no doubt there's some gold in there, that's for sure. But let's see about how much gold there might be in it. Whether we get a strong indication or a weak indication. So that should be interesting to see. Now, let me get a little bit of this liquid. Actually, you know what? Let me stir it up a bit because it's probably just got meltwater on top here. Get something from a little further down. Just a little bit. And then I've got some fresh stannous chloride solution right here that I just made. Let's zoom in so we can get a good look at it when it happens. Let's see what we got here. Do we have a weak indication or a strong indication? Oh my. That is a very strong indication. That's black. It didn't even pass purple. It went straight to black. There's a lot of gold in here. That's good. And it's a much nicer color than the stuff I filtered the first time around. It's not that really dark yellow, green, brown, opaque stuff. This has the look of gold in solution. So, and you know, without a lot of other stuff. I mean, there's a big layer of paper pulp down here from the filters. But, and there's paint chips and stuff, all the stuff I filtered out the first time. But this is a lot cleaner looking than what I got the first time around. So, I will give it a vacuum filter and get it nice and clean. And we will drop the gold. Okay, let's get this stuff filtered. Oh yeah. That is a nice clean filtrate getting down there in the bottom of that flask. That is beautiful looking stuff. We're going to have a nice clean gold drop this second time around. And by the looks of the stannous chloride test, there's a significant amount of gold in there to come out of solution too. So very nice. All right, I'm going to get this filtered. Get it all in the filter. Wash all the color out of the filter down into the flask. And I'll clean this beaker up, put the liquid back in it, and then we'll be ready to drop the gold. You don't have to watch the whole process. If you've been watching my videos, you've seen it 100 times already. Alrighty, I got all the color washed out of the filter. That is some really nice looking stuff down there. Good, clean looking stuff. I think a lot of the impurities went into the first gold drop. The second one might be quite a bit cleaner. Okay, but I'm going to keep that filter anyway. There's probably still a little trace of gold in there at least. So that will go back into my filter box. Get this stuff in here. Okay, I'm going to clean every trace of gold out of this flask. Get it in here. And we'll put this back in the fume hood and we'll drop the gold. Okay, meet you back at the fume hood. Okay, here we are. I got the liquid back in here. It's not on the heat, it's just, you know, sitting in the basin there on top of the hot plate. Everything's cold. Got my stump out here, which is a commercial grade sodium metabisulfite used for killing stumps. It's also really good for dropping gold out of solution. So we're going to use that. Before I get the fume hood started and do that though, one question I get a lot when I'm doing a gold drop is, why don't I stir it? Why do I just put this stuff in without stirring? Well, the way this stuff works is it works with the residual hydrochloric acid in here, and there's a lot of acid left in here. It reacts with it and produces sulfur dioxide gas. Well, that sulfur dioxide gas is going to diffuse through the entire volume of the liquid really quickly. I don't really have to stir it. So it's really kind of pointless. And one problem with stirring, you know, a pregnant gold solution is you get the solution on your stir rod. And you know, there's a million ways to lose a little bit of gold when you're doing this. And you know I'm losing a little bit here, a little bit there, little drops and bits and whatnot. I try to clean up after myself and make sure I get as much of it as I can. Everything that gets that touches the gold gets cleaned. You know, everything that touches the gold solution, the pregnant gold solution, gets cleaned, and the paper towels I use for cleaning it go in my filter box. You know, everything. I try to minimize my losses, but you know, if I take this in here and stir it, it's now covered with pregnant gold solution. So then I have to rinse it off, and I'd be doing this inside here, and this is going to be full of sulfur dioxide gas pretty quick, and that is just the nastiest, worst stuff. You don't want to be around it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start up the fume hood. I'm going to put some of this in, and I am going to try to stay out of the gas as much as possible. So my SMB here is a little bit lumpy. It's kind of humid after the hurricane. Okay, here goes the fume hood. We should hopefully see the characteristic color change. Foam, that's good. Okay. Once we start getting significant foaming, we're definitely getting that characteristic color change. We put this on, keep the gas in, because sulfur dioxide gas is what does the trick to get the gold to drop. And that gas is going to diffuse throughout the entire volume there, and I don't really have to stir it. So, but yeah, look at that. It went from a nice transparent pale yellow to a really dark gray. So the gold is coming out of solution. It's going to fall to the bottom of the beaker over the next few hours. I may just let it sit overnight because it's getting towards afternoon now, and I've got some other things I want to do. And then maybe come back at it tomorrow, and we'll see how much gold is in there. I hope there's enough that there's enough there that I can weigh it, and we can add to the 3.3 grams that we got in the last video when I processed the pins. That would be nice. Okay, I'll see you once the gold is all dropped. Okay, it's been like 5 hours, and I came out and checked on this, and the liquid really hasn't cleared. The gold hasn't settled to the bottom. Now there is some gold at the bottom. There's a film of gold on the bottom of the beaker. You know, it's not showing up here, but if I take the beaker out and look at it in the light, I can see it. I can also see that the liquid is slowly clearing from the top down. So it's much more transparent at the top, and then it gets more and more opaque as you go down towards the bottom of the beaker. So there's some really microfine gold in there that's taking its time settling out. Even Brownian motion is keeping it, you know, suspended in the liquid. We'll see what it looks like in the morning, but to me this is looking like this is some super fine gold. And if it doesn't want to settle out, I may just end up having to capture all this gold on a filter again, and then maybe put it through aqua regia again, and see if I can clean it up some. Get rid of whatever's contaminating it and making it not want to agglomerate together. And I suspect what's contaminating it is tin, because there was some metastatic acid on the filter that went in there. So there's probably some tin in there, and tin will make gold do this. It's the basis of the stannous chloride reaction. The gold will come out of solution as a microfine precipitate. So that's probably what's happening here. I do have a few tricks. You know, if this stuff will settle out all to the bottom of the beaker and I can siphon the bulk of the liquid off, I have a few tricks for cleaning up gold and maybe getting it to agglomerate together. I don't know, we'll see. This stuff may be too far gone for that. Like I say, I may have to capture it on a filter and redo it. But we'll give it the old college try. We'll see what it looks like tomorrow, and then I'll decide whether I want to try and clean it up as is or catch it on a filter and redo it. Well, it's the next day, and it's settled pretty well. The water column is mostly clear, although if I look closely at it, and it's probably not showing up in the video, even if I get it to focus nice, but there are layers, obviously different density stratifications in there, where there's bits of gold just sort of hanging out in those layers. It hasn't all settled to the bottom. There is a fair amount on the bottom, but it's very black and very fine. So that is some super fine gold. I'm looking at it thinking, there's not a damn thing I can do with this gold to try and get it to agglomerate together properly. It is just too super fine. So I think what I'm going to do, well, I should have left it well enough alone, and just left it in my filter box and recovered all this when I did my filters. But I'd have been in the same situation then, because the recovered gold then would have been pretty much the same as this. It would be, you know, contaminated with tin and other stuff, and it wouldn't want to make a nice clean gold drop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what I originally thought I should do. I'm going to capture all this gold on a filter, and I'm going to dissolve it again. I'm kind of committed at this point. I might as well, you know. I'm going to capture it on a filter. I'm going to redissolve it in aqua regia, and then reprecipitate it. And hopefully, all the nastiness that's preventing this stuff from agglomerating together and coming out of solution as a nice powder is going to stay with the liquid that goes through the filter. Okay, let me get set up for filtration. Okay, let's get this stuff filtered. I mean, I can tell just by looking at it, there's really not much I can do with it. By how black it is, the finer the gold particles are, the darker they are in color. And that is seriously black stuff there. That is, it looks like black paint, actually. Those particles are super, super fine. I'll be lucky if some of them don't go through this filter. I'm hoping they'll stop like 99.9% of them. We'll catch them in the filter, redissolve it in Aqua Regia. Oh man, there's a lot of gold floating on the surface too, just as super, super fine particles, as well as layers throughout the beaker and what's on the bottom. What's on the bottom is the bigger stuff. There's a lot of stuff still in the water column. It just doesn't want to fall down. Okay, let's get it filtered. Yeah, it doesn't even want to fall down to the lower corner of the beaker as I tilted it. It's so fine, it's defying gravity. There it goes. That's kind of sloughed down. Well, it did kind of agglomerate down into that corner. But still, I'm not liking the looks of it. I'm thinking trying to clean it. Too much of it would just float away. So, go ahead and do it. Oh, it wants to stick to the side of the beaker too. I'm going to have to scrub out the inside of this beaker to get the gold that's stuck to the inside of it. Then I'll use the piece of paper I used to scrub the inside of the beaker out. I'll add it to this. Oh yeah, it's just like a dark film on the inside of the beaker. I don't know if that's showing up at all. But, let's see. Is that showing up? I don't know. I'm going to have to scrub that out of there. Let me do that. And then the paper I used to scrub that, and this filter. Well, actually, you know what? I don't really have to scrub it. Because I'm going to put Aqua Regia in this beaker, and that will dissolve all that. Okay. Never mind. Let me rinse as much of the nastiness out of this gold as I can. Nice and clean. Okay, so hopefully all the compounds, the tin compounds or whatever else is in here that's causing this to not want to agglomerate nice are now down in here. And what we've got in here is just some super fine gold. Fine as frog's hair, as an old buddy of mine would say. Okay. Take this, put it back in here. We'll make some aqua regia, redissolve all that gold, dissolve all the gold stuck to the inside of the beaker. Clean the watch glass too, just in case it has any residue on it. So here we go. Back into the fume hood. Okay, back in the fume hood. It's just kind of a silly intellectual exercise at this point, but hey, what the heck? I'm committed. I want to know how much gold is there. Looking at what's on the filter, I would say probably a gram or less, but sometimes I get surprised, you know? Sometimes there's more there than I think. I mean, the original pile of gold that came off the pins, there was a lot more there than I thought just looking at it. So, you know, I might get fooled again. Maybe there's more gold there than I think. Okay, so muriatic acid in, warm heat on. Let's put a couple squirts of nitric in here. It didn't take much last time to get all that into solution, so I'll put about the same amount in this time. It was about 3 milliliters, I guess. Maybe a little bit more. Okay. And we'll let that go. Kind of a slow day, got nothing else to do. We'll do this. Actually, I do have a few other things to do, come to think of it. But this can run while I work on them. Okay, I went away for a while, did some stuff, and came back and found this. Wow, okay. It looks like the reaction's pretty much done. And that is a beautiful color for aqua regia to be. That is a much nicer color than what I've seen before. So hopefully we'll get a much nicer drop out of this. There's still a little bubbling going on. The filter paper hasn't quite fallen apart yet. I'm going to give it a little stir and just let it sit and let the reaction go to completion, and then we'll do like before. I'll put some shaved ice in it to cool it down and dilute it. Oh, I need to put some sulfuric acid in it too. I will do that in just a second off camera. And then, you know, I'll put the shaved ice in it, dilute it, cool it, and then filter it, and then we'll drop the gold again. But I'm thinking about using a different precipitate this time. Last time there was a lot of iron contamination in it, and the iron seemed to be causing the gold to come out of solution. So I'm thinking this time we'll use copperas or iron sulfate and see if we get a nice, much cleaner gold drop this time. So let me stir it up, add some sulfuric acid to it, and we'll let since it's still bubbling, we'll let it go to completion. Ice is going in. Down and melt and dilute, and then we'll be ready to filter it. Okay, this stuff is ready for filtration, but before I get started on that, and you've seen that before, you know, I'm just going to vacuum filter it, get all the bits of filter out of it. You know, you don't need to see that again. But before I start it, I'm going to get some copperas dissolving in some hot water. So a while back I did a video on refining 26 grams of dirty gold powder, and I did a double refining on it. I did it with SMB, and then I redissolved it and did it with copperas, and I got, you know, really clean gold powder in the end. So that's what I'm going to do this time. I'm going to use copperas on this. And back in that other video, I worked out using CM Hoke's book how much copperas per gram of gold to use. Now, I don't know how much gold is in here. I'm thinking probably not much more than a gram at the very most, but we'll assume 2 grams just to make sure I use enough copperas. Okay? So back in that other video, I did a little math because CM Hoke is using some pretty arcane measuring units in her book, so I converted them to modern metric units. And I'll play a little excerpt from that video here. And I have C.M. Hoke's book open here on my computer. I have it in electronic format. And here she's talking about the use of copperas to get gold out of solution. I get it to focus. There we go. So she says about a pound of green copperas for each 50 pennyweight of gold you expect to recover. Well, I don't think in pounds and pennyweights, I think in grams. So I did some conversion. So a pound is about 453.59 grams, and 50 pennyweights is about 77.76 grams. All right, so if I had 77.76 grams of gold, I would need 453.59 grams of copperas. Okay, so do a little more math, and we see that equates to 5.83 grams of copperas per gram of gold. Now we've got a number we can really work with, because we know we've got 26.05 grams of gold that's going to be in solution. So that equates to 151.87 grams of copperas that we're going to need to precipitate that gold. But I am going to increase the amount by about 20%, just in case I don't do a good job of denoxing the solution. Just to make sure, because what will happen is I'll leave a lot of gold in solution if there's a little excess nitric there. So using those numbers I came up with, assuming, let's say, 2 grams of gold in here, we're going to need almost exactly 14 grams of copperas to bring this down. So I need to measure out 14 grams of copperas. I need to put a glove on, although this stuff's pretty benign still. Best not to get it on the skin, in the eyes, in the mouth, drink it, gargle with it, whatever. So, alright. So 14 grams. Well, here's almost 14 right there. A little bit more. We're a little over. I don't know. A little over doesn't really matter that much. We're going with 15, just seeing as it's being so finicky and I can't get it back down to 14. So we're going with 15. A little extra isn't going to hurt anything. So over in the fume hood, I've got some water heating up on the hot plate. I'm going to dump this in it and get this dissolving, and then I'm going to filter this stuff. And then once that stuff in there is fully dissolved, I'm going to filter that, because there's always a lot of undissolved crud when you put copperas in water. So, all right, so let me get working. I got things to do. Okay, got nice clean filtrate. Of course, I had nice clean filtrate last time, and look what happened. But this time I think it's really clean. And speaking of clean, this beaker here had a black film of gold on the inside of it. That's all gone. That was all dissolved by aqua regia fumes inside here. So all that gold went back into solution. Now, the beaker's nice and clean, but I'm not going to put this solution in here. I'm going to put this solution back in this big beaker here, because I need room for adding the copperas solution to precipitate the gold out. And that might just bring us up near the top of a 1 liter beaker. So speaking of the copperas solution, here we are. So it's kind of a muddy brown, which is unfortunately normal right as it comes out of the package, and you dissolve it in a few hundred milliliters of water. We need to add a splash of muriatic acid to it to acidify it, and that should turn it a nice green color. Let's see. We need a little bit more. There, that's kind of greenish. Although the volume's going up, so the color's getting diluted, it's definitely got a greenish tint to it. So I'm calling that enough. It's not a super strong solution of copperas, since we only need 14 grams to drop the gold. So, I'm going to need to get set up to filter this because it's going to have particulates in it that we don't want contaminating our gold. So, I will get set up to filter this, and then I'll show you that. Then we'll drop the gold. Okay, so here's our filtered gold solution here. Here's our copperas solution, and they look remarkably similar at this stage. Copperas is actually looking a little more yellow than green, but when I look down through the bulk of it, it's got more of a green color to it. This is pure yellow. So, alright, I'm going to filter the copperas, and I'm just going to use, I've washed all of the gold out of this filter that I can. And rather than throw another filter in there, I'm just going to, for efficiency purposes, filter the copperas through this same filter. Why not? Why not save a filter? And that filter's already partly plugged up with paper pulp from the previous filter that this gold was dissolved out of. So we should get a really, really clean filtrate here. So all those little pores in that filter are all plugged up. Anyway, you don't have to watch this whole thing. You've already seen me filter liquids 100 times, so I'll be back when it's done and we're ready for the drop. Okay, the copperas solution is all filtered, and let me give you a look at the filter. And this is why you filter copperas solution, because there's always some nastiness left behind. Yuck! You don't want that in your gold when you're trying to purify it. Okay. So in theory, all I have to do is dump this in here, and the gold should come out of solution pretty darn quick too. Let's see what happens. And the beautiful thing about using copperas is there's no noxious fumes evolved like when you're using SMB. There's no sulfur dioxide. Don't have to do this in the fume hood where you can't really see what's going on. So let's see what happens. It's getting darker. Yeah, it's getting darker. Yeah, it's getting pretty dark. Something's certainly happening there. So we'll just have to let this sit and see what precipitates out. What comes to the bottom of the beaker. Hopefully some nice, good, clean gold. Okay. It's only been, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes, and look, all the gold has settled to the bottom. I swirled it around a little bit. Most of it's in a pile in the center. It's much coarser gold than what we got last time. It's much cleaner looking gold. There may actually be enough there to actually move the scale and get a weight on it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this into a smaller beaker. Well, get rid of the bulk of the liquid. Move the gold into a smaller beaker, give it some washes, and then see if I can dry it out and weigh it up. And we'll see what we got. Okay, so here's the gold after getting it in a smaller beaker and giving it a few distilled water washes. I think that's all I'm going to do to it now. I'm just going to dry it out and weigh it as it goes into my dirty gold container. This will get refined a few more times in the future with the rest of that stuff. Although this is probably pretty clean compared to the rest of the stuff in the container. But it has only had some distilled water washes. It hasn't had a boil in hydrochloric acid or anything. So let me get it dried out. There actually is looking like there might be a significant amount of gold here. I was starting to wonder if I was wasting my time. Well, we'll see what the scale says. It always looks like a lot in this state. Not so much when it's dried out. Alright, the gold is cleaned up and dried out. There's actually a whole lot of gold there. There's, you know, when it's wet, it's kind of fluffy. And it doesn't, it looks like a lot more than it is. But this is dry now, and it still looks like a lot of gold. So let's find out just how much gold is here. Let me get my little jar of dirty gold powder. And we'll get the scale up and running. Let's see what we've got. Well, that's actually pretty clean looking gold compared to the stuff that's already in the jar. But that's okay. It can be refined again. Alright, 1.14 grams. Okay, I am really glad I did this. I was wondering if it was going to be a waste of time, but no. 1.14 grams. So that ups the amount of gold I got from those military grade gold pins to 3.44 grams. That's a lot of gold, considering those pins had such thick gold plating on them. I've never seen anything like it before. I hope I run across some more of those pins someday. They were great. So, okay. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you found this update on the military gold pins interesting, informative. Give it a thumbs up. Give the video a like. Subscribe if you see future videos. I got a lot more of them coming out. Press the little bell icon that YouTube makes you press to be informed when new videos are coming out. And once again, thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye.